Call, our podcast all about theater, from the page to the stage, from the players to the playhouses. We're bringing you everything that you need to know about live theater on the stage. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about set design. You've heard me talk about in the past how theater is an ensemble experience, an ensemble production. You've got your actors, you've got your the writer, the playwright that gives you the script. You've got your director, you've got your assistant director and stage manager. You've got your costuming, you've got your music, you've got your audio, and you've got your lights, which fall under a technical director. And one of the most essential parts of doing theater um, is the set itself. You got a stage that is usually, not always, but usually a proscenium arch, which means it's a framed picture of a stage. You got the three-dimensional stage, and last week you heard me mention the fourth wall. And for all you theater goers out there, I meant to explain what that fourth wall is. The fourth wall is simply the audience. That is the fourth wall. And in theater, what you don't want is for, unless the director calls for it, or unless it's written in the script, what you don't want is your actors to break that fourth wall. Um, in other words, looking into the audience or playing to the audience. Personally, I don't like that. I noticed that in this show on TV, what is it with uh, the school, they play to the audience a lot, and I really don't like that. They play to the audience a lot, and so we don't like playing to that fourth wall unless it's absolutely called for in the script or the director thinks it'll be effective uh, a part of the play. But considering that fourth wall, that essential part of bringing a play to life, giving the actors the environment they need to be in to bring the story that the playwright has written to life, uh, is the set. And today we're fortunate enough to have one of the premier set designer in the city of Detroit and Michigan, I'm sure, and one of the premier set designers in America, O. Keith Jackson. He's been doing this for a long time. He's been doing it with some of the top playwrights from around the country. And not only does he do set designs and construction, because he builds some fabulous sets, and we're going to take a look at some of them later on in the podcast. But he also does sets for concerts and performing artists and just construction in general. He's just a jack of all trades when it comes to building. I call him a master builder. The late great Ron Older called him the set doctor. I call him my friend. And Keith Jackson, welcome to Curtain Call.
All right. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me here. And hello, everybody watching.
Keith, we always like to start right from the beginning. Theater is one of those areas that a lot of people, uh, well, not a lot of people get into or even know how to get into.
Right, right.
Once you do theater, as I always say, you get the bug. Once you get that little taste of theater, it becomes a part of your life. How do you, a man with your skills of construction, get into theater and that particular aspect of theater?
Mm. Are you gonna make me reach back and try to figure that
Reach
one
all
out?
the way back. We got plenty of time.
How did I get into theater? I think
Was it construction? Was it theater? Which came first? The ability to do construction or the attraction to theater?
I think what happened was, I guess, growing up, living on the block, I had a grandfather the grandfather on my mother's side was a small engine repair guy,
Okay.
and he literally repaired them right out of the garage, right there on corner house Mac and Harding.
Hmm.
And then my grandfather on my daddy's side was a fisherman, and and we went fishing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the gentleman up the street, Mr. Smith, was always tearing up stuff in his backyard, and I was drawn to that. I'm like, okay, what are you doing today? But at the same time, the more I kind of hung around Mr. Smith, it drew me back to go fix some things at the house. So I would
Okay.
say construction, repairing things and tearing up things kind of started it all, seeing what I can see as the world evolved on television. And
Mm-hmm.
okay, I want to be a DJ today. So
Okay.
couldn't go buy the turntable. So I took you remember the old long units that we had in our house
Mm-hmm.
with the speakers, and then you lift the top up in the
Right.
turntable. So dismantling a few of those and taking the speaker out of my grandmother's organ just to make me a sound system and my two turntables.
Oh,
So I
okay.
had the old turntables with the springs on them, and I turned them into two turntables like a DJ. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
okay.
and doing that, coming up, just breaking stuff and discovering, kind of
Okay.
kicked off.
Deconstructing to construct.
Exactly.
Oh,
How
that's
is this? I
interesting.
was always like, how is this working? Why did you? So
Uh-huh.
that's kind of where that started at, and then just remembering helping granddad
Mm-hmm.
around the house, just doing maintenance stuff,
Okay.
and that's kind of how that part started.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, I kind of probably have to to fast forward to elementary school. I would say
Okay.
elementary school. Don't remember what school it was. I think it was Wayne Elementary School, which
Okay.
doesn't exist anymore. But I think the theater, I'm gonna call it the gathering place at that time because
Mm-hmm.
we didn't do a lot of theater in there. It was just where we got cussed out by the principals and the teachers and everything, and the holding room.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at some point we did a Christmas play,
Okay.
and I think in the midst of that, I was just being more useful as I could,
Okay.
um, and I'm liking it, and being able to put together the film projectors. Because
Mm-hmm.
remember, we didn't have all the digital and LED screens and
Right.
stuff
Right.
then, so we had to string. Once I figured out how to do that, then
Mm-hmm.
oh, can you take this to this classroom? Take this class. So it was just always doing things with my hands.
Okay. A
So
tinkerer.
yes, indeed, indeed. Man, there's so many stories. I don't know how to
We
break them down.
break them down. Break them
Um,
down.
let's see. Somewhere in there, my aunt's boyfriend, Phil Raid, that was his name, and he helped me out a lot. So he was a rock band guitar playing guy,
Okay.
and he built his own speakers.
Okay.
He was into RC cars, so he had the big race tracks and
Okay.
spray painting the car covers and customizing stuff like that,
Okay.
and then playing strategic games like Mastermind. I'm not it's still out there. The game Mastermind and Othello. It was games that made you think more than just Monopoly too,
Mm-hmm.
but it was these games were more. They made you think a little harder than just
Mm-hmm.
playing cards or the
Mm-hmm.
normal games that we played growing up. So he had those thinking games, and I hung around him. I remember one of my birthdays. I don't know how old I was, but he bought me a sheet of plywood for my birthday.
A sheet of
A sheet of
plywood.
plywood, particle board to be exact. Um,
Has
and
anybody ever heard of anybody getting a sheet of plywood for a birthday present?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And there used to be a hardware store on Warren, on the east side called I don't remember, but it was a hardware store on Warren. And he bought that wood for me because I liked the speakers that he had created.
Okay.
And so that gift, it was something that he felt that I wanted, and
Mm-hmm.
he was right. And so we went to that hardware store and had them pre-cut some stuff because I didn't have a lot of tools or anything at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We pre-cut it, and it was just a put together at that point, but it helped out a lot.
Okay.
And as the years went by, I mean, he was doing. They had bought like a little Honda.
Mm-hmm.
All these memories just popping in my head.
Yeah. Good.
But him and my aunt had a Honda vehicle, and she wanted a sound system in the car,
Mm-hmm.
and he was doing it because he was into sounds and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And we went up, hooking up the EQs and the amps and all. I was right
Mm-hmm.
with him the whole time, so I learned a lot about that. And so I guess at the end of the day, you could say from the small engine repair
Mm-hmm.
to working with wood,
Mm-hmm.
repairing things around the house,
Mm-hmm.
um, car audio because I did car audio for at least 4 years straight out of
Wow.
the garage that my grandfather repaired the small engine repair.
Okay.
So that became my first shop,
Okay.
which was my grandfather's garage
Okay.
where I grew up. And that was my shop for a long time, you know. So I
Okay.
was doing a lot of car audio installs, but I was also doing custom speaker cabinets. It
Wow.
was crazy, and I did that for years. Won car contests with Mickey Shores. Used to do a lot of car audio contests, and I used to win a lot with a Chevette.
Okay.
Believe it or
I
not.
never knew about that.
Yeah,
I never.
yeah. I did some crazy things
No,
with them.
no, all that's sharpening that most important tool.
Yeah,
Well, basically, what you've told me from from the beginning to this point is that the most essential tool that you had to work with, other than wood and building and construction, is your mind
it was a
and
mine, man.
developing that
Yeah.
single most important ability that everyone should be always working on, and that's the ability to think.
Yes.
And you deconstruct it to construct, and this is what I'm taking from you. You deconstruct it to construct, and having an inquiring, inquisitive mind, wanting to know why and how stuff works,
Yeah. It was a
led
lot of
to
that.
yeah,
There was a ton of it.
yeah. Okay, so with that, building sets.
Hmm.
When you build sets, I mean that's a very specific type of construction. You're talking about toggle rails and cornerstones
All that good
and
stuff.
key blocks and flats and
Right.
you know.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll say this, and here's the great part about this story. I believe, and I really never put it together until you till now. It makes a lot more sense now. But I did tell part of the story. But here it is. So after a lot of years of doing those things
Mm-hmm.
and calling Mr. Smith on the phone, like, hey, how do I hook up a three-way light switch? And he talked me through it just to
Mm-hmm.
get the light working in my grandmother's house, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So some electrical work,
Mm-hmm.
some repair work,
Mm-hmm.
some woodwork,
Mm-hmm.
some painting,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? All these things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what am I doing? What am I going to do, you know, with my life? Didn't know. So I'm all the way in high school now. So high school, I went to Denby High.
Okay.
And again, big, beautiful theater,
Right.
but it's the holding place again. And the
Right.
stage is the storage.
Assembly.
And it's where we take the IDs. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we did 2 shows a year, which was, you know, the spring show. I don't know if we did a singing show. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't no plays or anything like that. And I remember I played on the football team, but I remember quitting the football team
Mm-hmm.
at one of our homecoming games after the game, of course. But what made me quit was on top of the school, there was some speakers on top of the building. So they
Mm-hmm.
went on the roof and they played the sounds from the top of the building to the field because it was our homecoming. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where are these people? Who are these people?
Uh-huh.
So I did my little investigating after the game and whatnot. And that's when I found out that the stage was just a big, beautiful space for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it had, what is all these strings and what's
Right.
these lights? And I'm trying to discover what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But we're taking, so I had to quit the football team to join the, what did they call it? They called it AV team.
Audio visual.
And that's all
Yeah.
we did was, again, take the projectors to the classroom and the TVs. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we're upgraded to TVs now. So TVs to classrooms, take
Mm-hmm.
the IDs, and pretty much that was it.
Okay.
And wait for the few shows that we did.
Okay.
So Mr. Carr was the person there, and he left, and Mr. Moore, Dennis Moore. I know people know Dennis Moore out there. Dennis Moore came in, and he was very interesting man. He became my mentor forever, ever.
Mm-hmm.
But Dennis Moore came in, and because I was there, and I just started asking him questions.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking to me, you know, back and forth, and he's the kind of person that if he did not know the answer, because he came for the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't know the answer to it, he started finding out answers.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, he took the entire team,
Mm-hmm.
stage audiovisual team,
Mm-hmm.
to the Attic Theater. Do you remember the Attic
I
Theater?
remember the attic theater. Yeah.
The Attic Theater was on the West Grand Boulevard, right up the street,
Mm-hmm.
right I forget the cross street, but where Dietrich, next door to Dietrich Furs.
Mm-hmm.
And he took us to see a play called Of Mice and Men.
Of Mice and Men,
Was
a
that the first?
classic.
No, that was the second play I saw there.
Okay.
First one was 1940s Radio Hour. I'll
Okay.
never forget it. So I think this is. I'm sure I missed something, but this is kind of where the theater bug
Mm,
got me fully.
mm,
We're watching the play. I couldn't tell you much of the play. We was probably just misfits at the time, but I
mm-hmm,
definitely watched it, and it's beautiful. You got
mm,
the guy. So 1940s Radio Hour, just real quick, it's like a back in probably the 40s is when they were doing sound effects and everything. They did it on the radio, or
exactly right.
and they were making all the sounds. So you could see all of this because we were watching the play.
Right.
And after the play, because we were from a school, we get to talk to the actors and ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then they allowed us to come on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Once they allowed me to come on the stage, it was over because I'm looking at a hardwood floor.
Right.
I'm looking at this control booth that the guy was in. He's
Mm.
controlling the controls and all
With
this.
the
I'm
big
like,
levers.
yeah, the
Talk
big
about.
levers and everything. I'm like, wow, this is great. And when I get on stage, I get up close to the floor. It's paint
Mm-hmm.
with magic marker lines on it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I walk behind the booth. It's pieces of wood, painted pieces of wood with some screws going through it. I'm like, what is this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when it happened. And whatever happened, it was like COVID. It jumped on me and it
Mm-hmm.
just never left. And when I got back to the school, I was like, okay, so where are all these books going and where these other things going? And Mr. Moore, we gotta do this and we gotta fix this. Let's find out. So I literally made Mr. Moore turn audio, video, visual into stagecraft.
Okay.
He educated himself. He educated us.
Okay.
I think that program left after he left and I left. I don't think it exists anymore.
Wow.
But we started going back to the attic, and then I did my research again. I found out about the. So let me bring that home real quick.
Okay.
So here's the thing about theater that I love. Theater has electrical,
Right.
plumbing if you want it,
Mm-hmm.
painting,
Mm-hmm.
interior design work,
Mm-hmm.
carpentry for sure,
Right.
lights. I said electrical, but lights,
Mm-hmm.
um, art of reading and just being yourself. I mean, theater has a wide range
Mm-hmm.
of. So when I go back and I say, okay, what do I want to do? Am I going to do car audio? Am I going to fix houses? Am I going what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And theater had it all in one,
All in one. Right.
and it's fun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where that's how I got hooked.
Okay. You are watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, and all other streaming platforms. We invite you to give us a like, give us a comment, call your friends and tell them about this show. It's all about theater because we want to build an audience. We want to build and enhance the culture and the art of live theater on the stage. And that's what we're about the business of doing. So we would appreciate any feedback you would give us if you'd like to be on the show, if you are a writer or a director or an actor, a singer, a dancer, a technical director, which we're going to get into next, or a set designer, give me a call or give WJZZ Cool TV station a call and ask for me, Robert L. Douglas, and we'll try to get you on because we're all about the business of sharing what live theater is all about. You just heard Keith explain what theater brings to you. So you're watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Okay, so you say all that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the main things that you did for me, besides set construction and design, was being a technical director,
Yes.
which involved everything you just talked about. Um, you said you went to Wayne State. Give us a little insight in what you learned there and how that led to where you are now, especially in terms of being a technical director.
Okay.
Because being a technical director, an artistic director can't do without a technical director. You got to have it. And if you got a music, you got to have a musical director. But the technical director pulls all those different things you were just talking about
Yeah.
the carpentry, the electricity, the lights, the sound, the construction, all that together.
Mhm.
Give us some insight into that.
I mean, it's exactly what you said. It's really needing that person that can see everyone's everyone's part
Mm-hmm.
as a whole, and knowing how to organize the chaos, because it's going to be chaos.
It's always chaos.
How to organize the chaos, but providing everything that's needed for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
like that. All its problem solving.
Right.
Technical theater is all about problem solving and getting
Mm-hmm.
a good product at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good technical director that can see the problems and solve them.
Mm-hmm.
I had I had the privilege to work under a lot of great people,
Mm-hmm.
and just see how they roll. They're always calm and cool, and they got it together
Mm-hmm.
and could solve problems real easy. Um, I think Reed Downey was my professor, and
Mm-hmm.
I met him. I didn't even how I got to Wayne State. That's the even crazier part because I didn't plan on going to college or anything. And then
Mm-hmm.
um, when I reached out to Harmony Park Playhouse, I mentioned that earlier. Um, uh, Maggie Porter, she was the
Okay, I
director
heard him. I remember
of
Maggie
that,
Porter.
and Reed Downey is a set designer,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just so happened to be in charge of uh, the technical theater part at Wayne State University.
Okay.
So when I became an intern at the Harmony Park Playhouse,
Mm-hmm.
which was in the Madison Lennox Hotel building, which is not there anymore. It's a parking lot right now
Mm-hmm.
in Harmony Park. Um, and Reed, he noticed my skills or whatever, and I think Mr. Anderson worked there also. Gary
Gary
Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was like the lighting guy.
Okay.
And
We had him on a few weeks ago,
oh,
or
okay,
in the fall.
yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
my guy. So um, Gary worked there. He was doing lights. I was there interning under him,
Okay.
and then Maggie found out that I could build a little something, something. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going in the back room, finding some things and putting things together. And I met Reed, and he offered me a scholarship to go to
Mm-hmm.
Wayne State. So that was a decision, and well, okay, I'll do
Oh,
it.
great.
Yeah, freshman incentive scholarship. That's what I got to get to Wayne State,
Okay.
and I learned a lot at Wayne State. So as far as technical direction, like I said, it's really just knowing how to put all the elements together and knowing that everybody that's here on this team
Mm-hmm.
needs things
Mm-hmm.
to make it all work.
Mm-hmm.
And my job as a technical director is to make sure everything works is safe
Mm-hmm.
and the best way to make it pop.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's what that's he's been a technical director for me, set designer and construction, and has given me uh, a number of I guess they would call you your proteges
oh yeah,
who have served as my technical directors like Ouija,
yes, yes, yes.
um, and there were some others whose names are escaping me right now who came in and helped build sets. Also, an artist. Now we haven't touched on the art aspect of
Right,
it.
right.
Um, uh, you introduced me to an artist who came in. I want to say the first play that he did art for was the Amen Corner.
Hmm.
He did this beautiful mural like
Oh,
painting of
Sanders Bryant, Skip Sanders
Sanders
Bryant,
Bryant, who is
super genius here.
super genius. And I need to get him on too.
I can make that happen.
Yeah, well, I get Skip on here. This beautiful mural of a black Jesus uh, for the play, the Amen Corner.
Amen Corner.
It was beautiful. So there's the art aspect, there's the construction, all of that rolled into what you see on the stage.
Yeah.
It's bringing so many aspects of real life, and if you got a good script and you got a good cast, uh, all these pieces come together as one. Thus, the ensemble that theater is. Um,
Here's a good thing about theater. I'm sorry. Jump
Go
in.
right ahead.
A good thing about theater is, well, a good thing about Wayne State University, because that's where I
Mm-hmm.
went,
Mm-hmm.
is that you can't, like, say I wanted to be a technical director or a set builder.
Mm-hmm.
You can't the curriculum calls for more than that. You can't
Right.
just walk in and say, "Hey, I want to be." That could be my major,
Mm-hmm.
but you literally have to do it all.
You have to do it all.
You got to take the makeup class. You
Mm-hmm.
got to take the wardrobe class. You have to
Mm-hmm.
take the acting class. You have to take the lighting class
Mm-hmm.
and the class that you're there for.
Right.
And it helps. At the end of the day,
Right.
now the actors know what the lighting people go through. The
Mm-hmm.
lighting people know what the actors need.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's the great thing about theater. You got to learn it all and you got to do it all if
Right.
you go to school for it.
Right.
And, it
Yeah,
helps a lot.
absolutely. I was a theater major at Tennessee State. We built our own sets. That's why I know what a toggle rail is and cornerstone, key blocks, all of that. Uh, we did our own. I had to learn the lights. I had to learn how to paint. I had to learn
Yeah,
the color scheme, the primary colors, the secondary colors, the
absolutely.
tertiary colors,
Absolutely.
how to paint a set.
Hmm.
We learned different techniques on how to
Shadows and highlights. Yeah.
exactly all of that in theater. So a lot of people say, "Well, why would you major in theater?" But the things you learn
Yep.
in theater are, like you said, across the board,
Across the board.
um, and problem solving is a big part of
Major part.
that.
That's my middle name,
Your
problem
problem
solving. Yeah.
and creativity
Yes.
and creativity. Um, so let's get into um, some of the people that you've worked with.
Mm.
Now,
Okay.
I met you. I just asked you about this earlier um, through Ron Milner.
Correct.
And we worked that out. I couldn't remember who came first, you or Ron, but it was Ron. Now I'm trying to figure out who introduced me to Ron. How did that
Mm.
happen? And I can't recall. But Ron, I remember we met at the Kirby over there on the corner of East Kirby. I forget what the name of that building is. And we talked a good while about theater.
Hmm.
And I remember now, he's the one who hooked me up with you.
Yeah.
Hooked me up with you. So some of and again, you've heard me talk about Ron Milner. If we're talking about theater in Detroit, you can't do theater. You can't talk about it without talking about Ron Milner,
Correct.
the preeminent playwright. We got some sharp young playwrights out there now with Detroit roots, um, like Dominique Morisseau. But you can't talk about theater without talking about Ron Milner. But your experiences in theater have put you in touch with uh, uh, some of the more popular playwrights,
Yeah.
some of the more contemporary playwrights, and in particular of those playwrights who had touring shows all over the country.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of those people.
Well, I'll say it.
Before you do that, let
Go
me do
ahead.
another.
Go for it.
You are watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Streaming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and all other streaming platforms. Again, we want you to give us a thumbs up, like us, give us comments, tell your family and friends. If you know anybody who likes to go to theater and see plays, whether it's in small theater or the big traveling musical shows at the Fox and the Fisher, um, if you love theater, let us know. If you know anybody who loves theater, tell them about our show. Again, you're watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. Now, tell us about some of these people you worked with and what it was like working with them.
Ah, So it's great that we talked about Ron
Hmm.
because I would say that Ron Milner put me in my first situation.
Okay.
I call it a situation because it definitely was a situation.
Okay.
I'm still in college, and okay, so Ron wrote a play called Madame Lily. He wrote this play with Gladys Knight for Gladys Knight. Let me back up. He wrote it for um, Barry
I'm
Hankerson,
not going to say Barry Hankerson.
and in that play was Gladys Knight, Dorian Harwood,
Mm-hmm.
David Peaston. Um, I can't think. There's a few other people that was in it, so it was superstars already in
Mm-hmm.
this thing, and I got the privilege to build that set, which was one of my first sets. It was my first set out
Mm-hmm.
fresh out of college. So real quick funny story is we come out and I built the set the way I was taught
Mm-hmm.
in college, and and because we had a week or two or three in
Mm-hmm.
college to build stuff and fix stuff and put it together,
Mm-hmm.
that ain't the same when you're out on tour.
Right.
It's got to go together in 4 hours or less.
Right.
So, yeah, I got cussed out a lot in my on my very first tour, and but we prevailed. Barry Hankerson actually cussed me out in front of everybody. Barry, if you see this, you remember that day. But the funny part is, after he cussed me out, he grabbed me and said, "Come here." And he cussed me out in front of everybody first.
Uh-huh.
Then he grabbed me. He's like, "All right, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go get some gold paint. Paint all that stuff gold. I'm gonna get some new furniture. Da 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 da. And you're gonna get a lot of work after this." And that's what calmed me, brought me back.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a rough road, and we made it through it. And I learned a lot. I learned, I want to say everything, but I learned a lot off of
Mm-hmm.
that tour. And so, to name some highlights is Gladys Knight, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
David Pearson. So I had the privilege to play pool with Dorian Harwood
Mm-hmm.
and get cussed out by Gladys also. I got cussed out a lot on that tour, but I learned a lot too. And so I did that show. That put me in the realm of meeting David Talbert.
Mm-hmm.
So once me and David met, he was already doing plays. Um, Once he and I met, I did his first play. Basically did all of his plays after that.
Mm-hmm.
And so David Talbot, of course, he had all star shows with stars in it, and so many people that were, I can go on and on. I
Mm-hmm.
can't think of none of the people's names right now for some reason, but almost any star you could think. If you're familiar with his plays, I
Mm-hmm.
met all those people that was in his plays,
Right.
and then so it went from David Talbot to let's see, Gary Guidry and Jacarius Johnson. It
We've
went
got a play running now. I just ran.
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
another one coming back soon too.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, I believe, next weekend at the
Mm-hmm.
music hall. Um, from them to Tyler Perry, when he was just coming out, he was doing a show with. He did his first show with. Not, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't his first show. He did a show with um, TD Bishop TD Jakes, Woman Thou Art Loose,
From a dollar. Right.
and I had the privilege to build that, and also a lot of his sets. I built a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sets for Tyler, um, and almost anybody that did a touring play, I had something to do with it.
Right.
So yeah, I
What,
met a
what was
lot
it
of
like
people. I'm
working
sorry.
with Tyler?
Um, you could tell he was. It was great. It was
Okay.
great. Tyler is great. Period. And he was full of energy. Like somebody put some super energy in him because he
Mm-hmm.
was just let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how. And you can see that to this day.
Mm-hmm.
He's a workaholic from the day I met him to now.
Mm-hmm.
So it was great working with him. You learned a lot. You learned a lot with Tyler. You learned a ton with David E. Talbert because
Okay.
David was one of the first um, that I know of that was starting to put things on VHS. I mean,
Okay.
DVDs and selling them,
Okay.
putting the plays on.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what year, but he was a great pioneer
Okay.
of the quote unquote urban. I don't want to call it the Chitlin circuit,
Right. That's what I call
but
it, the urban circuit.
yeah, the urban flavor,
Mm-hmm.
and he put it out there. And Tyler grabbed a lot of that
Mhm.
information because David was trying to connect us all together. It didn't work out too well, but he was
Mm-hmm.
trying to connect us all together. But Tyler did a good job of listening.
Okay.
He did a great job of listening. So
Right.
I was there, so I could vouch for that situation. But you know,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Now, talk a little bit about some of the. I know I went to a concert at Shane Park and saw a set that you had built for Kim.
Right, right.
Some of the performing artists that you singers and that you've done sets for.
Let's see.
Um,
I built so hmm, definitely Kim for sure. Um, that was a privilege. I worked with Kim. I watched Kim perform
mm-hmm.
in the lobby at St. Regis Hotel.
Okay. In the lobby.
In the lobby, I'm
Okay.
telling you, that's where it all started. His manager at the time, Toya, she, we became friends after a lot of people cussing me out, so I'm sorry, everybody. But she was doing some shows at the Charles H. Wright,
Okay.
and I built a set for whatever show it was. I don't remember. And I put some screws in the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and and so somebody told on me, whatever, because Charles H. Wright got
Right.
the beautiful floor,
Right.
whatever. I'm like, well, how we gonna make this stuff stand? It's a theater or not? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so they gathered up the whole team just to come and point out. But I had already
Mm-hmm.
removed the screws by the time they got there.
Mm-hmm.
So they did their little, hey, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, where
What
the
is
proof at?
this?
What the receipts? What you talking about? I don't
Right.
see no screw, no holes. So me and
Mm-hmm.
her became best friends after that. And that's kind of when she got Kim after that. So
Okay.
so yeah, I watched
Talk
Kim
about
grow.
Toya Hankins.
Toya Hankins, a
Right.
mastermind,
Yeah.
mastermind. She was the person that got Kim,
Mm-hmm.
molded him up, and
Mm-hmm.
and served the world with him. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we hear and see now is a great product of Miss Toya Hankins.
Right. Right. You mentioned the Charles Wright. I often first time I went to see a play in there. No. Yeah. I think I'm like, how is this working? Once I saw the theater itself, I'm saying there are no wings.
Right.
There's no backstage.
It's a proscenium
It's a
thrust.
it's a proscenium thrust, and it's not built for theater. Um, nice size house,
They did a little remodeling.
for theater.
They did some
Uh, but
currently.
I often wondered, we did a showcase for the Sam Cooke play in there.
Hmm.
I was trying my best. I was just all I could do is like, man, we need to get Keith Jackson. We need to get Keith Jackson. And the producer just he had other ideas. Uh, for the Sam Cooke play. I wanted you so bad for Sam Cooke. And I was about ready to cuss him out because he wouldn't
Wouldn't budge.
we wouldn't budge on that, man. But you've done a number of shows, all of my sets pretty much
Hmm.
when I was actively doing theater. Uh, you did a set for me. Uh, a lot of sets. The first set he did for me, I think, was the first Family Love set. And that set I thought was just like, okay, this is a great set. Um, I looked at the walls. I had been used to doing the walls, uh,
Straight across.
well, with muslin.
Okay,
I'd
right.
been used to building sets with muslin, and you would building them with
Luan,
luan,
thin wood.
yeah, thin wood. And I learned something at that point. Same structure, it just he was using luan instead of muslin.
Right.
Um,
It took me a minute to get out of the Muslim because I was trained that way also,
okay,
and then I realized you can't do this on tour because once it tear, it's
it's,
over.
it's
It's
over.
over. Yeah.
Okay, so the going to the luan was a result of learning what you needed to have.
A case of that, and then probably a case of walking on a TV set,
Okay.
which in television, I'm sure you when you see some talk shows, you see the back of the
Mm-hmm.
walls. They're still flat, still theater. It's
Mm-hmm.
just TV shows. You see all the crisscross wood in the back of it, but they
Mm-hmm.
use a product called masonite, which just it's like a pressed sawdust, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes paint way better than wood because wood has the grains and masonite is kind of smooth and flat.
Okay.
So, but looking at those sets, realize okay, we can do some hard flats, and it's gonna withstand this tour
Mm-hmm.
world. But I'm sure, a lot of the Broadway plays, they were definitely using luan and plywood and stuff like that.
Okay.
Just at the time, in my beginning, because I'm learning from Wayne State, we weren't,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't give us that information right off the rip. So we had to go to the basics first,
Right.
and then
Before I learned the basics.
right,
Yeah.
it's just a process. So the muslin was definitely a light because the whole motto for theater was lightweight and portable.
Right.
But it's things get heavy because it has to be,
Right.
especially when you're doing two-story sets and
Right.
turntables and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
you need some real structural pieces.
And we got to. I think we're gonna see one of your two-story sets, and we'll get you to explain that.
Okay.
But I was saying you did my Family Love, the first Family Love play when we did a showcase
Okay.
to get audience feedback on it at the we did it at Southfield Lake High School uh, one weekend over there, and once we got the feedback and realized what we had, we took it to the music hall, and I'm expecting to see that same set. And here you come in with a bigger, better set than that one, which I thought was fantastic. Um, and that was a beautiful set. I wish I had some pictures of that to show you. I did have one picture with everybody on the
On the
set,
set, yeah.
but
I would have
so
to
you
dig up some more.
yeah, to bring that out. And then that was the Grandma Rogers set at the when we did it at the Northwest Activity Center. I was working with some kids uh, at Akibalon Village.
Okay.
I've been working at Akibalon with kids from Akibalon Village for over 35 years now. And we brought some kids we're going to have them, learn how to do the front house, work
Right.
to be ushers and that sort of thing.
The business part
Right,
of it.
right.
Right,
Teach
right.
them, just give them theater experience they'd never seen a play before.
Hmm.
Took them in the theater and they looked at the set on the stage and saw the set. And they were like, "Wow, a
Right.
house on that stage, and a living room with doors and
Yes.
furniture and everything." And they went running up on the stage and looking around and went backstage, and then they was like their mind was blown.
Because there's nothing back
Nothing
there.
back there.
That's what happened to
It was
me, man. It's
that man,
crazy.
their minds were blown. Well, where's the rest?
Right.
The bedroom,
Through the back door.
where's the outdoors? And looking
Right,
through
right.
the windows, they were just blown away. It was just like you said, wood,
Yeah, man.
and things are wholly set up and hold it in place,
Stage
and just
racism.
just backstage.
Yeah. Another
Uh,
world back there.
right, a whole nother world back there. So uh, it just takes us full circle to back what you were saying, the beauty of theater and what you can get in that three dimensions and see through that fourth wall.
Yeah, yeah.
You did my family love set, my grandma Rogers set. You did Pearly Victorious, Amen Corner,
Yeah.
Raising in the Sun. On that Pearly Victorious set, you built a turntable
Hmm.
so we could have uh, uh, Ludy Bell, Missy, and Gitlo's shack on one side, and old Colonel Kachapi's uh, general store on the other side.
Right, right, right.
And it was just, and all we had to do is just turn that turntable
Yeah.
on
I
a
don't.
very small set.
And I definitely
Wait
wouldn't
for our
call
stage.
I wouldn't call myself the originator because I'm not.
Mm.
But I brought it to the urban world for sure.
Right.
I saw it. I'm like, okay, I can figure this out,
Mm-hmm.
and we made it happen. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And because my people, when they write these plays, sometimes we got too many scenes, like we should be shooting a movie.
Mhm.
So you have to figure out an easier way to do it and still be
Right.
effective and look
Right.
good.
Right. You were watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. You're watching Curtain Call, all about theater. And we'd like it if you would just give us a like, a thumbs up, a comment, tell your family and friends about us. Tune in every Monday to see us because we're all about building theater and enlightening and enhancing our knowledge of theater and the culture of performing arts and theater in Detroit and around the world. WJZZ Cool TV, Curtain Call, live, streaming to you on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so we're going to look at some of your sets now.
Okay.
Some of the sets that I just was able to glean. Like there's a double,
Oh.
the two level there. Explain that to us. What we're looking at there.
This show was called Love Overboard. This was um, I'm Ready Productions, and they asked me to create a cruise ship, and
That's what that is.
that's what it is. And the upper part with the three windows, the three circle in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
that part flies away, and there's a cabin right there. There's a cabin room, and then all the other portholes is just how to get upstairs and downstairs. And it was called Love Overboard, and that's the bar down on the first floor.
Okay.
Carl Payne was in there. This one right here, this was Church Girls. The writer Angela Barrows Dunlap. This is the church scene, and this had multiple scenes too. That curtain also flew away. There's actually a turntable there, and then the left and right unit they spun around also because it turned from a church to a strip club.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's urban theater.
That's urban theater. We will go
Okay.
there.
That's my grandma Rogers set. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
this was the front door, and Grandma Rogers' back bedroom was back through there, and of course the kitchen. And every morning we'd have the sun come up. That's lighting. The lighting we could go from night
Yes.
to day with the lighting, and the rooster would crow just as the sun was coming up every morning in Grandma Rogers' neighborhood. That's
Man, what
probably one
year
of
was this?
man. We did that a number of different years. This was getting up out of here. One of my plays that we did at the Hope Repertory Theater. Actually, that I wrote that play, man, right after Family Love.
Mhm.
That was at the Hope Repertory Theater. Um, Man, back in the 2010s.
Wow.
Okay, and that's
Another angle.
another angle of that set. Um,
We did some great stuff at that
hmm
stage.
Yeah, and that's just upstairs. You did original. The original one of that set you did for me uh, was many years ago.
Mhm.
Um, um, that was the second time we brought that they did that show,
Okay.
and that was a completely different set. Um,
It's hard to
do
keep
we
stuff
have the
sometimes.
Raisin in the Sun? Do we the Raisin in the Sun set? Now that's back getting up out of here.
The great moments, man.
Not seeing a raisin in the sun. Anyway, you did a raisin this set, the raisin in the sun set for me,
Hmm.
and there's a scene where Bobo comes in to tell Walter Lee what happened to the money with
Okay.
Willie, and he asks Willie if he wants some water, and he tells Ruth to get him some water, and so Ruth gets a glass and goes over to the sink, the beautiful sink, this brownstone, the Chicago walk up brownstone, and she goes over to the sink and turns on the tap and runs
Some
some
water on
tap water
stage, baby.
where we had running water on the stage in a raisin in the sun, and I just love that. Again, problem solving,
Yeah,
creativity,
having fun.
having
You gotta
fun.
enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a beautiful thing. Um, so tell us what you some of the things you got coming up and working on.
Right now, so what I've been doing lately, the theater world slowed down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not much. I did build Tyler Perry's farewell tour.
Okay.
That last set that he did, the last show that he did, as far as the play is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I did set it off. That's a Jacarius Johnson,
Mm-hmm.
New Jack City. I did that also.
Okay.
Another one of his plays that he did. And but currently, lately,
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing a lot of restaurant build outs and designs,
Okay.
still taking my theatrical
Mm-hmm.
flair and putting it into people's, homes. I don't
Mm-hmm.
do as many houses anymore, so don't call me for the houses, y'all. But I've been doing a lot of commercial stuff. So, I'm a part owner around the corner at Joe Louis Southern Kitchen. I'm not sure if you knew that.
I haven't been there yet, but we're gonna get
Yeah,
there.
you gotta get over there.
Okay.
So I designed that. I'm a part owner in that also, and it looks like check it out, Joe Louis Southern Kitchen. You can check it
Okay.
out, but it looks like the front lawn of a house.
Okay.
So there's a porch and everything. So it's like you're coming over to Joe Lewis's house
Okay.
and to be on his front lawn and enjoy your breakfast and brunch food.
Um,
That's what we serve, breakfast brunch. We close at 4 o'clock every day.
okay.
And I'm
Tell them
building.
about Deep Drama events, and because we're running out of
Okay,
time.
I'm sorry about this. So, Deep Drama Events is a branch of my company, which is
Mm-hmm.
Deep Drama Design. So,
Right.
Deep Drama Design is where I kind of started all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and I got that name from my uncles and my daddy. Deep Drama part,
Mm-hmm.
and it's where the events portion of it is because, again, all because of theater
Mm-hmm.
and the way I think. I was able to create a company that rents furniture and lights and staging for
Okay.
people's weddings and backyard parties and the red party, the green party, the black parties, whatever. And that's what we do with the events part.
Okay.
So Deep Trauma Design is like the umbrella to all of these things.
Okay.
And And then like I said, building some restaurants and nightclubs and stuff like that. So I'm busy
Okay, so
nonstop.
you've heard what he does. If you need to reach out to him, reach out to me, and then maybe I can get a commission on that.
Hmm.
It's been a real pleasure having you,
Yeah.
Keith, on the show. Uh, you brought a wealth of knowledge to a lot of stuff I didn't know. I've always been fascinated with your work.
Thank
You are the best. You are the best. No doubt about me. If Tyler Perry's got you building sets, we know you are
you.
the
Yeah.
best. And
No doubt.
I just feel fortunate enough to have had you to do design all my sets. I'm still working on getting funding for Joy Road.
Okay, I remember that. I remember
Yeah,
that.
and waiting on to see that design because that's going to be one of my first multi-set uh, productions.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to working with you on that. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun, but we got to run. You've
Right.
been watching Curtain Call on WJZZ Cool TV Live. And we want you to watch us again next Monday when we'll have Mosaic Youth Theater.
All right.
So join us next Monday for Curtain Call. Thank you and good evening.